The void between stars held its breath as the UNSS Discovery glided through space, its sleek hull reflecting distant starlight. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the strange object their long-range sensors had detected 3 days ago. After 15 years of deep space exploration, humanity had finally found what they'd been searching for: proof of intelligent alien life. "Status report," Chen called out, her voice steady despite the anticipation churning in her stomach. "Object is maintaining its position, Commander," Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez responded from his sensor station. "Energy readings are consistent with an advanced propulsion system, but there's no sign of defensive measures or weapon systems." Chen nodded, running her fingers through her short black hair. Humanity's first contact protocols had been developed over decades, refined through countless simulations and theoretical scenarios. Now they would finally put them to the test. "Dr. Watson, are you ready with the greeting package?" The ship's xenolinguist looked up from her console, her eyes bright with excitement. "Yes, Commander. Mathematical sequences, basic atomic structures, and simple pictographic communications. Everything the protocols suggest." The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, but Chen could feel the underlying tension. Humanity had unified its space exploration efforts after the resource wars of 2157, pooling global resources into the United Nations Space Service. The Discovery represented the pinnacle of human achievement, and now carried the weight of humanity's first steps into a larger universe. "Unknown vessel is changing position," Rodriguez reported suddenly. They're launching something." Before Chen could respond, dozens of small objects erupted from the alien ship, spreading out in a precise geometric pattern. The objects began emitting powerful energy signatures that interfered with the Discovery sensors. "They're not weapons," Dr. Watson announced, her fingers flying over her console. "They're transmitting. It's a language package. They're trying to communicate." The alien transmission was unlike anything humans had conceived. Instead of mathematical sequences or pictographs, it transmitted pure concepts, emotional states, abstract thoughts, and complex social structures, all encoded into quantum-level data packets. Hours turned into days as the Discovery's crew worked to decode the alien message. The ship that had launched the communication pods belonged to the Nexari, a species that had achieved interstellar travel centuries ago. They claimed to be scouts for their empire, seeking new civilizations worthy of elevation. Chen felt uneasy about the implications. "Dr. Watson, what exactly do they mean by elevation?" Before the xenolinguist could answer, Rodriguez's voice cut through the bridge. "Commander, multiple ships dropping out of FTL. They're Nexari vessels." The space around the Discovery suddenly filled with massive ships, their organic-looking hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their designs were beautiful but predatory, like deep-sea creatures evolved for space. "They're powering up weapons," Rodriguez shouted. Chen's training kicked in instantly. Shields up, evasive maneuvers. But the Nexari attack came with devastating precision. The first salvo bypassed the Discovery's most advanced defensive systems as if they weren't there. Alarms blared throughout the ship as hull breaches appeared on multiple decks. "They're using quantum-entangled weapons," the science officer reported in disbelief. "Our shields can't." Another hit rocked the ship. Chen grabbed her console to stay upright. "All hands, abandon ship. Get to the emergency pods." As the crew evacuated, Chen activated the ship's black box recorder, speaking quickly into the ship's log. The Nexari claimed to elevate worthy species, but their actions suggest something else. They attacked without provocation, using technology far beyond our current understanding. But they've made a crucial mistake. She paused, watching as the last escape pod launched. They assumed technological superiority equals total superiority. They don't understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt, to overcome, to unite against common threats. If the Nexari think humanity will simply submit to their elevation, they're about to learn a harsh lesson. The Discovery's final moments were recorded by the escaping pods, a brave ship going down fighting, buying time for her crew to escape. As the pods streaked toward Earth, carrying their warning of the coming storm, humanity faced its greatest challenge. The Nexari had pushed too far, and humanity's response would shake the foundations of their empire. 90 days after the Discovery incident, the atmosphere in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber crackled with tension. Admiral James Martinez stood before the assembled world leaders, his weathered face illuminated by holographic displays showing the approaching Nexari fleet. Their main invasion force will reach our solar system in approximately 6 months, Martins reported, his voice grave. Based on the data recovered from the Discovery's encounter, we're facing an enemy with technology centuries ahead of our own. The chamber erupted in worried murmurs, but Martinez raised his hand. However, we've identified several critical weaknesses in their approach. The Nexari rely heavily on quantum-based technology and perfect mathematical precision. They expect their opponents to behave according to predictable patterns. Dr. Elena Santos, head of Earth's newly formed Xenotechnology Division, stepped forward. Her team had spent months analyzing the Discovery's sensor logs. The Nexari's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. Their quantum weapons and shields operate on principles we can barely understand, but they're inflexible. They can't adapt quickly to unexpected variables. In underground facilities across the globe, humanity's response took shape. Traditional military tactics were abandoned in favor of strategies that would seem irrational to the mathematically perfect Nexari. The remaining ships of Earth's space fleet were modified with experimental systems designed to introduce chaos into quantum fields. At the Lunar Defense Base, Commander Sarah Chen, one of the few survivors of the Discovery, oversaw the training of Earth's unified space forces. The Nexari expect us to fight like them, she told her pilots. They expect logical responses, predictable strategies. We're going to show them how humans fight when backed into a corner. The pilots trained in simulator after simulator, learning to execute maneuvers that defied conventional space combat doctrine. They practiced flying patterns based on everything from jazz improvisation to the seemingly random movements of schooling fish. Each pilot was taught to think independently while maintaining swarm coordination, a concept the rigidly hierarchical Nexari would find difficult to counter. In orbit around Mars, Dr. Santos and her team worked on Project Prometheus. The Nexari's quantum communications are incredibly sophisticated, she explained to her colleagues. But they've never encountered a species that could manipulate quantum fields in unpredictable ways. We don't need to match their technology. We just need to disrupt it. The project involved retrofitting Earth's ships with devices that generated controlled quantum chaos, fields of probability that could interfere with the Nexari's precise calculations. It wasn't elegant, but elegance wasn't the goal. Humanity needed weapons that would work, not weapons that would impress. Meanwhile, on Earth, the population united in ways previously thought impossible. Old rivalries were set aside as resources and expertise were pooled. Former adversaries worked side by side in weapons laboratories, their political differences forgotten in the face of extinction. In her private moments, Commander Chen reviewed the footage from the Discovery's final battle. They think they're superior because their technology is advanced, she said to Admiral Martinez during a strategy session. But they don't understand human nature. We've spent our entire history fighting against superior forces and winning. Martinez nodded, studying the holographic display of Earth's defensive preparations. The Nexari expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally. They're not prepared for humanity's greatest weapon, our unpredictability. As the months passed, Earth's transformation continued. Underground cities were constructed to protect civilian populations. The moon was converted into a fortress, its craters hiding weapon installations and shield generators. Mars became humanity's backup plan, a hidden colony that would ensure human survival even if Earth fell. 4 months into the preparations, the first test of humanity's new defensive systems took place in the asteroid belt. A small Nexari scout ship, similar to those that had attacked the Discovery, appeared as expected. Earth's defenders were ready. The test squadron, led by Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, executed their unconventional attack pattern. Their ships moved in ways that seemed random but were actually carefully choreographed chaos. The Nexari vessel's quantum weapons missed repeatedly, unable to establish target locks on ships that refused to follow logical flight paths. When Rodriguez's squadron opened fire, their weapons weren't the advanced energy beams the Nexari expected. Instead, they launched clouds of smart dust, billions of microscopic robots that interfered with the Nexari's quantum field generators. The scout ship's shields fluctuated and failed, its systems disrupted by technology it had been designed to ignore rather than defend against. The engagement was over in minutes. The Nexari scout was disabled, its crew captured. The interrogation revealed something crucial. The Nexari weren't just confused by humanity's tactics, they were frightened by them. A species that should have been easy to subjugate was instead fighting in ways their strategic algorithms couldn't predict. As news of the victory spread through Earth's defense forces, a new sense of hope emerged. The Nexari might have superior technology, but humanity had something they didn't understand: the ability to embrace chaos, to adapt, to think in ways that defied logic when logic wasn't enough. 2 months remained until the main Nexari fleet would arrive. Earth would be ready, not with superior technology, but with the unconventional creativity that had helped humanity survive every challenge in its history. The Nexari were about to learn why it was a mistake to push humanity into a corner. The Nexari fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their ships casting long shadows across Neptune's blue surface. 300 vessels strong, they moved with mathematical precision, their formation a perfect geometric pattern that would have been beautiful if it wasn't meant for war. On the bridge of the EDS Defiant, Commander Chen watched the tactical display with steady eyes. Earth's defense fleet waited in carefully planned positions, hidden within the rings of Saturn. The massive gas giant's electromagnetic interference helped mask their presence from the Nexari's quantum sensors. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Rodriguez announced from her tactical station. "Project Prometheus is operational across the fleet." Chen nodded, her fingers brushing against the worn data chip she wore around her neck. "Salvaged from the Discovery's wreckage. Send the signal to begin Phase 1. Throughout the solar system, automated defense platforms activated. These weren't the advanced weapon systems the Nexari would expect. Instead, they were simple machines broadcasting complex quantum noise patterns designed by Dr. Santos' team. The interference created false sensor readings, making it impossible for the Nexari to get accurate scans of the solar system. On the Nexari flagship, High Commander Vextol received conflicting reports from his sensor officers. "Impossible," he muttered, his crystalline skin reflecting the light of multiple display screens. "Their technology isn't advanced enough for quantum camouflage." But the readings weren't camouflage. They were chaos, deliberately introduced into the quantum fields the Nexari relied upon. Their sensors, designed to detect and analyze perfect patterns, were overwhelmed by the randomness of the human defense strategy. "Launch probe ships," Vextol ordered. "Find their fleet." The Nexari deployed hundreds of autonomous probes, each one a marvel of advanced technology. They spread out across the solar system, searching for Earth's defenders. But they were looking for conventional military formations, for logical defensive positions. They weren't prepared for what they found. Earth's ships had been painted with specialized metamaterials that absorbed sensor waves. Their engines were modified to emit false signatures that mimicked natural phenomena. Small groups of vessels hid within asteroid clusters, their positions seemingly random, but actually carefully planned to exploit the Nexari's rigid tactical expectations. "They're spreading their forces thin," Chen observed as the probe ships passed near Saturn. "Exactly as we predicted." Execute Phase 2. Earth's fleet broke from their hiding places, but not as a single unified force. Instead, they attacked in small, independent groups, each one using different tactics. Some ships flew aggressive attack patterns based on predatory animals. Others moved in flowing formations inspired by schools of fish. The Nexeri computers, trying to predict their movements, found no logical patterns to analyze. Multiple human vessels detected, Vextal's tactical officer reported. Their attack patterns are irregular, unable to establish targeting solutions. The first wave of Earth ships struck from behind Saturn's rings, their modified weapon systems unleashing streams of quantum-disrupting particles. Where the Nexeri expected energy beams or projectiles, they instead faced clouds of microscopic machines that invaded their ship systems, corrupting their perfect quantum fields. Impossible. Vextal watched in horror as 30 of his ships suddenly lost power, their quantum cores destabilized by human weapons that should have been centuries beyond their capability. How are they doing this? The answer came in the form of more attacks, each one different from the last. Human ships executed maneuvers that seemed suicidal, diving between Nexeri vessels to disrupt their formation. Others launched what appeared to be primitive nuclear weapons, but the detonations released electromagnetic pulses specifically tuned to the frequency of Nexeri shields. On the Defiant, Chen watched the battle unfold. "They still think we're trying to match their technology," she said to Rodriguez. "They don't understand that we're not playing their game." Launch the Fireflies. Thousands of small, autonomous drones emerged from Earth's ships. Unlike the sophisticated Nexeri probes, these were simple machines programmed with basic swarm intelligence. They flew in patterns based on insect behavior, their seemingly chaotic movements making them nearly impossible to target. The Fireflies carried no weapons. Instead, they broadcast quantum noise patterns that created a cascade effect in Nexeri targeting systems. Ships that had never known defeat found themselves unable to lock weapons on targets that refused to behave according to any rational combat doctrine. "Their formation is breaking," Rodriguez reported, excitement in her voice. "They're trying to regroup, but our quantum interference is preventing their ships from coordinating." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Nexeri built their entire civilization on predictability and perfect patterns. They never considered that someone might win by introducing deliberate imperfection. All ships, execute Phase 3. Earth's fleet converged on the scattered Nexeri forces, but not in a traditional attack pattern. Instead, they moved like a storm, their formations fluid and ever-changing. Ships weaved between enemy vessels, their quantum disruptors creating zones of chaos that spread through the Nexeri fleet like a virus. As Vextal watched his perfect formation dissolve into disorder, he finally understood. The humans hadn't tried to match Nexeri technology. They had found ways to make that technology work against itself. They had turned unpredictability into a weapon more powerful than any quantum cannon. The battle raged for hours, but its outcome was decided in the first moments when humanity showed the Nexeri that perfect order could be defeated by perfect chaos. As the remnants of the Nexeri fleet retreated, leaving behind dozens of disabled ships, Chen sent a message throughout Earth's forces. "Remember this day. We proved that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think beyond conventional boundaries." The Nexeri came expecting an easy victory over primitives. They're leaving with a lesson about underestimating human ingenuity. In the aftermath of the Saturn battle, Dr. Elena Santos stood in her laboratory beneath the Martian surface, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from captured Nexeri vessels. 3 months had passed since humanity's first major victory, but the war was far from over. The Nexeri had retreated only to regroup, and their main fleet was reportedly mobilizing for a massive counterattack. "There's something we're missing," Santos muttered, her eyes scanning through quantum field readings. Behind her, banks of computers processed data from the battle, analyzing every interaction between human and Nexeri technology. "Their systems are too perfect, too ordered. Nothing in nature works that way. Commander Chen, who had come to Mars for a strategic meeting, watched the scientist work. The victory at Saturn had bought them time, but both women knew it wouldn't be enough. The Nexari would adapt, would find ways to counter human unpredictability. Dr. Santos, one of her assistants, called out, "I think you should see this." The young physicist pointed to a peculiar pattern in the data. During the battle, moments before their systems failed, the Nexari ships had exhibited strange quantum fluctuations. Santos leaned forward, her exhaustion forgotten. "Show me the temporal analysis." The holographic display shifted, revealing a cascade of quantum events that seemed to ripple through Nexari systems just before failure. "It's like watching dominoes fall," Chen observed. "Each disruption triggers the next." Santos' eyes widened. "That's it. That's their weakness." Her fingers flew across the controls, bringing up more data. The Nexari didn't just build their technology on quantum principles. They built their entire civilization on it. Their ships, their weapons, their communications, everything is connected through quantum entanglement. "Which means?" Chen asked, though she was beginning to understand. "Which means they've created the largest, most sophisticated quantum network in history, but also the most vulnerable." Santos pulled up footage from the battle. "Our quantum disruption weapons didn't just interfere with their systems. They created a cascade effect through their entire network. We weren't just fighting individual ships. We were fighting one massive, interconnected system." The implications were staggering. The Nexari's greatest strength, their perfectly coordinated quantum-linked technology, could become their greatest weakness. But exploiting this weakness would require something beyond simple disruption. "We need to change our approach," Santos said, already sketching out new designs. "Instead of creating chaos in their systems, we need to introduce a specific kind of disorder. A quantum virus that doesn't just disrupt their network, it reprograms it." Over the next weeks, Mars Base became the center of humanity's most ambitious scientific project. While Earth's forces prepared for the coming Nexari counterattack, Santos and her team worked to develop what they called the Quantum Inverse Protocol, or QIP. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A young researcher studying ancient Earth phenomena made a connection between quantum entanglement and the butterfly effect from chaos theory. The Nexari's quantum network, for all its complexity, followed predictable patterns. By introducing precisely calculated chaos at key nodes, they could create cascading changes throughout the entire system. "It's like acupuncture," Santos explained to military leaders. "We don't need to attack their entire fleet. We just need to hit specific points in their quantum network to cause systemic failure." Testing began on captured Nexari technology. The first attempts failed spectacularly, but each failure brought new understanding. The Nexari systems weren't just linked. They were constantly seeking perfect order, automatically correcting any disruptions. But this very correction mechanism could be turned against them. "Their technology thinks in binary," Santos told Chen during a late-night strategy session. "Order or chaos. Right or wrong." They never considered the possibility of controlled disorder, of chaos with purpose. The first successful test of the QIP weapon came just days before long-range sensors detected the approach of the Nexari counterattack fleet. A captured Nexari shuttle, when exposed to the precisely modulated quantum signals, didn't just shut down. It reprogrammed itself, its perfect systems dissolving and reforming into patterns of humanity's design. "They're coming," Chen announced, studying the tactical displays. 500 ships at least, twice the size of their first fleet. Santos nodded, her face reflecting the red glow of Martian sunset through the laboratory windows. "We're ready. The QIP weapons are installed on our primary vessels. But, Commander," she hesitated, "this isn't just about winning battles anymore. What we've created could change everything, not just for us, but for the Nexari too." Chen understood. The QIP wouldn't just disable Nexari ships. It would fundamentally alter their technology, their way of life. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from destroying your enemy, she said, but from helping them evolve. As Earth's forces took up defensive positions around Mars, preparing for what would become the defining battle of the war, humanity held a weapon that represented both their greatest strength and their deepest wisdom. They had taken the Nexary's perfect order and found a way to transform it rather than destroy it. The coming battle would decide not just the fate of humanity, but the future of the Nexary civilization. And in their moment of triumph, humans would face their greatest test, not of their ability to fight, but of their capacity for mercy. Commander Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching her fleet form up around Mars. The red planet glowed behind them like an ember of hope. "Send word to all ships," she ordered. "The Nexary came to elevate us. Instead, we're going to show them a better way, not through perfect order, but through the beautiful complexity of controlled chaos." The Martian sky blazed with the light of 500 Nexary warships dropping out of hyperspace. Their formation was different this time. No longer the perfect geometric patterns they had used before, but something more fluid, adapted from their experiences at Saturn. The Nexari were learning, evolving, but so was humanity. High Commander Vextal stood on his flagship's bridge, his crystalline form reflecting the glow of tactical displays. "The humans expect us to underestimate them again," he said to his officers. "We will show them that the Nexari can adapt." On the Defiant, Commander Chen watched the Nexari fleets approach. The human defense force was significantly outnumbered, but numbers had never been what this war was about. "All ships, initiate QIP protocols. Remember your training. We're not here to destroy. We're here to transform." The battle began with neither side launching a direct attack. Instead, the Nexari fleet split into multiple attack groups, attempting to counter the chaos tactics that had proved so effective at Saturn. Their quantum weapons had been modified, their targeting systems upgraded to handle unpredictable movement patterns. But humanity wasn't fighting the same way either. Earth ships moved in formations that seemed random but followed complex patterns based on natural phenomena. The spread of forest fires, the growth of crystal structures, the flow of river deltas. Each movement served to position them for the real attack. "QIP weapons at full charge," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "Quantum field synchronization at optimal levels." Chen nodded. "Begin transmission." The first wave of QIP signals pulsed out from the human fleet, invisible but powerful. They struck the Nexari ships not as weapons, but as something entirely new, patterns of controlled chaos that spoke to the quantum networks in a language they understood. On the Nexari flagship, alarms blared. "Unknown energy signature detected," an officer reported. "Our quantum fields are changing." Vextal watched in confusion as his ship's systems began to transform. The perfect, orderly patterns of quantum energy began shifting, not into chaos, but into something between order and disorder, a harmony he had never conceived possible. Throughout the Nexari fleet, the transformation spread. Ships that had been linked in rigid hierarchies found new ways to connect. Weapons designed to enforce order became tools of creation. The QIP didn't destroy the Nexari technology, it evolved it. "What is happening?" Vextal demanded, but even as he spoke, he felt his own consciousness expanding. The quantum fields that connected all Nexari technology also connected their minds, and the QIP was showing them a new way of thinking. Chen's voice broadcasted across all frequencies, reaching both human and Nexari ships. "Your civilization seeks perfection through absolute order. Ours has learned that true perfection lies in the balance between chaos and order. We offer you not defeat, but evolution." The battle became something else entirely. As the QIP spread through the Nexari fleet, their ships began moving in new patterns, neither the rigid formations of before nor the pure chaos of human tactics. They found a middle path, a dance between structure and freedom. Dr. Santos, watching from her laboratory on Mars, saw her theories proven true. "They're not just adapting their technology," she reported to Chen. "They're adapting their entire way of thinking. The quantum networks that run their civilization are learning from us, just as we learned from them. The transformation wasn't instantaneous, nor was it complete. Some Nexari ships resisted, their commanders trying to purge the QIP from their systems. But with each passing moment, more of the fleet experienced the change, discovering the strength that came from embracing both order and chaos. Vextal stood motionless on his bridge, experiencing something no Nexari had ever known, the beauty of imperfection. Through the quantum network, he felt his species awakening to new possibilities, new ways of existing. "Commander Chen," he transmitted finally, his voice carrying a new harmony. "The Nexari came to this system believing we would elevate humanity. Instead, you have shown us a higher path. I request dialogue." The fighting stopped. Ships from both fleets hung in space around Mars, no longer enemies, but two civilizations on the verge of a remarkable collaboration. Chen's response was simple: "That's all we ever wanted." In the years that followed, the day of the Mars battle became known not as a military victory, but as the beginning of a transformation. The Nexari, with their mastery of quantum science, and humanity, with their understanding of controlled chaos, forged a partnership that changed both civilizations. Research centers were established on Mars, where scientists from both species worked to explore the space between order and chaos. The QIP technology evolved into a tool for communication and growth, helping both humans and Nexari reach new levels of understanding. Commander Chen eventually became Earth's first ambassador to the Nexari Confederation. In her inaugural speech, she said what everyone had come to understand: the greatest victories don't come from dominating others, but from showing them new possibilities. We didn't win a war today. We began a journey. Dr. Santos continued her research, working alongside Nexari scientists to explore the principles that had brought their civilizations together. "The universe isn't built on perfect order," she would often say. "It's built on the beautiful dance between pattern and possibility." And on quiet nights, when the Earth shone blue in Mars' sky, humans and Nexari would gather to share stories of how a war of elevation became a journey of mutual growth. They had all learned the most important lesson: true strength lies not in enforcing your way of life upon others, but in being open to new ways of living.